In today's video, I thought I would cover a certain piece of information that we covered a long time ago and in detail, but there's a lot of new viewers. We're going to cover this briefly, and there's some new information I want to put out regarding this statement from these two junior officers in the CIC to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt either the report from the Navy is so incompetently done and so wrong that it can't be trusted to be the truth, or those two junior officers are lying. Either way, we have a problem, and we're not getting the true story of what happened the night the USS Fitzgerald was hit. Now, this is Vessel Finder. This is a nautical map that you can bring up. It is a great tool at vesselfinder.com, and it gives you the ability. Let me zoom out here to kind of give you folks an idea of where we're at here. This is the location of where the collision happened with the Fitzgerald. These two little pins we can put at any distance from each other and at any angle, and it'll give us a distance and a heading. Now, the reason we're at this particular place on the map is because it represents this location where they mark underwater submarine cables. These are fiber optic cables, and there have been many occasions over the last 8 to 10 years where damage to these cables has cut off communications and internet to entire countries at times. So they mark them so these ships know where they are, where not to anchor, and where to keep an eye out for them. Now, the reason this is important is at this exact location where this submarine cable makes a turn, this point right here is exactly 56 nautical miles from Yokosuka, Japan. Strangely enough, in the report, it states that the accident with the Fitzgerald happened at 56 nautical miles. Also, when the Fitzgerald was involved in this collision, allegedly according to the report, they were on a course of 190, which is just a little west of south. And strangely enough, this cable runs about 190 degrees. Now, as if that wasn't suspicious enough, at 1:27, 3 minutes before the collision, the report states that the officer of the deck considered a turn to 0240 true, but rescinded the order within a minute before changing her mind and making the turn to port. Now, this order to 240 true, watch this. $240 degrees. What are the odds that the Fitzgerald was running 190, gets to a location, considers a turn to 240, and at that location, exactly 56 nautical miles, is where this all occurred? And this all just being a strange coincidence. This cable having nothing to do with the mission of the Fitzgerald. It's ridiculous. And the last thing that I will do here before, if I can get this map to behave, is show you this distance to Yokosuka. See if I can grab one of these pins here. Oh, I gotta love the computer. Okay, I gotta zoom in here. Give me 1 second, guys. Alright. Now, there is some new structure here. This right here, I'm not sure what it is, but it wasn't here when we were doing the investigation. Thank you for your patience, guys. We are going to get to some new information here. Just bear with me. Alright. I'm not going to waste a whole bunch more of your time here. We're having some weather issues, and it's messing with the internet. But trust me when I tell you, there you go. 56 miles. 55.92. This is where this occurred. Now, the new information, without any further ado. the statement that came from the CIC, from these two officers, that 1 minute before the collision, the AIS that allegedly the Navy said in the report wasn't being used was in fact being used, and showed the Fitzgerald just magically pop up out of nowhere 1 minute away. They put the gun camera on it and watched the bow of the Fitzgerald, the bow of the Crystal, head straight for a midship on the Fitz. Ridiculous. Absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. If the Fitzgerald was sitting still, it's not, but that's not what the Navy's saying. Now, these three dots up here, this one will represent the Fitzgerald. This one will represent the Crystal. This one will represent the collision location. The distances represent the speed these ships would have been traveling 1 minute prior. The reason this line is longer is the Fitzgerald was traveling at 20 knots. 20 knots is 23 miles an hour, according to Google, I guess. That's the case. The Crystal was traveling at 18 knots. And you can see this if you want to go to YouTube and type in ACX Crystal Track, it'll pop up, and you can look at this and see this for yourself. Now, here's what makes the story ridiculous. 1 minute away at 25 miles an hour is almost half a mile. So the Fitzgerald was 1/2 a mile away from the collision location at 1 minute. The Crystal was a little less than that, about 1/3 a mile away. But when you put everything together from each other, they were almost a mile away. Now, these two officers said that they saw the bow of the Crystal bearing down on the center of their ship. Not possible, because at a mile away, heading this direction, even if they would have turned that gun camera, there's so many degrees over here to look at this cargo ship at a mile away. Here's your angular size calculator. At a mile away, 150-foot beam, assuming the bow, is only 97 minutes. That's not some giant, huge, lumbering mess filling up your camera. The moon is about 30 minutes, so go out, look at the moon tonight, imagine, 3 of them. And you have to think about this from the point of, everybody out there's driven a car, right? You're going 25 miles an hour, and you're 1/2 a mile away from a train track crossing. Okay, imagine this now. 1/2 a mile away from a train track crossing. And there's a train 1/3 of a mile off to your right, heading for the same crossing. You're doing 25, it's doing 20. Okay? And you have 60 seconds to deal with this problem. I mean, count back at 60, 59, 58. My contention is that even at a minute, there was no danger. There was absolutely no danger. Both of these ships could have made minor course corrections that would have allowed them to miss each other. Minor course corrections at 1 minute out. And we'll show this again. Let's see if I can back this up to the standard. I call it the 30. Well, let's see here. All right. We've watched this before. This is the 38-second mark of the video. See if I can do this without dumping the camera. I'm trying to listen to you guys and steady this camera, but... Alright. You can see the clock down at the bottom, right? Bottom left. Here we go. Going forward. And of course it would move as soon as I do that. Alright, there you go. Now look how fast And guys, does that look like 20 knots? I mean, it's close. I mean, I know 20 knots isn't full speed for an early Burke, but it's moving. This thing could have literally turned around and gone the other direction in less than a minute. That's 40 seconds. That's well over 100 degrees. It's well past 90 degrees for sure. Almost 180 degrees. And what they're saying is that at this dynamic, because this is what it would have looked like, that they didn't have the ability to get out of the way in time, that somehow this gun camera from this ship a mile away saw a 150-foot wide beam bearing down on its starboard midships. It's insane at this distance, at these speeds. The only way this makes sense is if the Fitzgerald is actually sitting right here, dead in the water, and this thing's cooking at it at 20 miles an hour, and they don't have the ability to get engines up or whatever. And in that sense, they could probably turn the gun camera and look straight at its bow as it's coming at it and clobbering it. I could see that. But if it's up here, which is where the Navy said it would have been, using the information in their report, this is what makes the story ludicrous. Insane. I mean, to any reasonable-minded person. And in case anybody wants to take issue, here is the story. And I'll go up here to the top, just so you know I'm not kidding. This is USNI News. They're not known for lying or embellishing. This is 10 May. And I will read. This is the statement. The sailors who were manning the combat nerve center of the USS Fitzgerald did not know they were on a collision course with a ship almost 3 times their size until about 1 minute before impact, according to new information revealed in the preliminary hearing for 2 junior officers accused of negligent homicide. Lieutenant Natalie Combs, the tactical action officer, and Lieutenant Irian Woodley, the surface warfare coordinator, were both on duty in the Combat Information Center. Now, here's where it's just insane. Listen to this. Shortly after crossing into the busy shipping channel, the merchant ship ACX Crystal popped up on the CIC's commercial ship AIS system. The Navy report specifically delineates under Seamanship and Navigation, point 8, that the AIS was not used aboard the Fitzgerald. But strangely enough, this is the only ship that popped up. The container ship was bearing down on the warship, bow pointed toward the middle of the warship. Woodley ordered the camera used to spot targets for the ship's 5-inch gun toward the bearing of the Crystal. Fire controlman, 2nd Class Ashton Cato, who manned the camera, saw the flared bow of the ship fill up his monitor just seconds before the fatal crash. Horse shit. No way. Not 20 knots, 18 knots, a mile away. Didn't happen. They're lying. So just wanted to put this all together for everybody to show you specifically how we got to this point. So I'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.